Okay, we'd like to call the Capital Improvement Committee meeting to order. It's March 11th, 2019 at 10:02. And we are going to interview some department heads this morning. First on the agenda is the town clerk. She's got some projects that she'd like to see funded today. I think I put some down here. Can dig through these. These are some. Did you bring any copies?
I did. I made copies for everybody.
Okay. All right. Great. There's some more there just in case. And before we get to it, Courtney.
Copy of that.
Courtney, did you bring copies of your budget? Your request?
A copy of this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're gonna probably need to get some copies then from Suzanne.
In all the packets that I sent around, everything I had, which included the schools, was photocopied for you.
Yeah.
Does
It
anybody have?
wasn't, the clerk wasn't.
The clerk, no, the school department?
Yeah, I got that.
So you all have the schools.
I printed the school department one for myself this morning, but does everyone have one?
It sounds like it, because I
Oh, okay,
distributed
yeah.
it. Mike
That's
might
fine.
not. Mike doesn't have a
All right.
packet at all.
Okay. So do we wanna make one for Mike?
Yeah, is that the whole thing?
Yeah. Sorry about that.
How many priorities do you have?
One, right.
That must be two.
Do you have the
there's
two?
Yeah,
Okay.
the two is the, not on that.
You've got two?
I'm gonna need one for that. One as
I
well.
have all three.
You need others?
Yeah. I printed them all and,
Yep.
This is one right here.
That needs one.
thank you.
I have one. I need two.
Well, two is the funny one, this one.
All right,
Sure.
Yeah, I got it, right, no.
so
No,
welcome
that's
Christine.
one. That's one.
That's one.
And which one would you like first? The priority number one is
Yeah,
the
priority
voting
number one
machines?
would be
Okay,
the
so that
electronic
is-
voting machine.
So you've got one, two, and three, right?
Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good to go. We're cooking with gas.
One, two, and three. And you have an agenda?
Yep.
And you got the handout that I have in page for HF. And so first, I'd like to replace my voting machines that I have currently. They were purchased in 2001. They are now obsolete, so if they do break down, it's gonna be hard to get parts for them. They're 19 years old. They have been good to us so far. I did get a quote from one company that we do use. I'm waiting for a quote. There's only two machines that the state approved, and two companies. This is one of them. And the first one is the three image cast machines.
Image cast?
Yep.
Okay.
And it's basically what we have now. It's a scanner.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did
I did it, tested already.
Yep. So he gave me two quotes. One has three machines along with the box that it goes with, that actually where the ballots go in. And the other one, the other quote he gave me was
It's on the bottom of it.
three machines and one spare machine in the event that one does break.
Mhm.
I do it. If a machine was to break that night, we would not be able to count the ballots. The girls working there, they're working 12, 13 hours. So what I would have to do, and what I'm working on doing, is either getting a group together to come in that night to count the votes, because I know there's people usually waiting that, to get the results. I do have 5 days to report the results to the state. If I can't get people to come out at 9 o'clock at night, we'd have to do it, find people to come during the day.
Yeah.
And I know that was a concern last time that I asked for the machines, that it was, it was just, you can hand count the ballots. There's a lot to it, and I know, like I said, I am gonna be compiling a list. I know, Ellie, you had brought up before, about counting the ballots. It's not an easy job, so I'm gonna be looking for people to count the votes that night or the next day. So I don't know if anyone would like to volunteer to come in and be on that list. Other than that, I have to notify the state if I do get machines. There's, certain, the Board of Selectmen have to, 90 days before an election, I have to give a written request to the state. Any questions with these?
Let me ask this, Christine, what's the, do you have any idea with the company, did they give a useful life for how long they're supposed to last?
They had told me roughly about 15 years.
All right, so
But
they're
that's what they,
beyond,
yeah, they had told me 15 years for the machines I currently have.
Okay.
They were purchased in
Borrowed time
2001.
now.
yeah,
So
exactly.
they're tied, I mean, they've been good to us.
Not that we've ever had any close elections or anything.
No, we haven't. No, not at all. No.
All right, that's fine.
Do you get more copies of this?
Anyone have
I
any
passed
questions
it
for
to
Yeah,
Christine
yeah,
on the
that's
voting
on the-
machines?
There should be 2 of those.
I don't.
I don't have that.
It was,
Yeah, I got another one.
oh, all right. Yeah, and then it has the picture of that thing.
Yeah,
on the
I
bottom.
just saw the other one. Okay.
Any questions for Christine on the voting machines?
So these two quotes are different things?
One is 3 machines, and one is 3 machines with 1 extra in the event that one was to break. And it does have a breakdown of everything, of the cost of, they're very similar in cost with the 2 companies,
Mm-hmm.
so I am waiting for another quote for the other company, but they are very comparable.
So right now
Okay.
your
Mike?
quote is
It's at the top.
23,000?
That's what I'm requesting. This one here is 17,000,
Oh, okay.
and then the other one
Yep.
here. It has the extra 18,1. He didn't give me a price on that, or 20,000, I'm sorry.
20,100?
Yep, with the extra one, yep.
Is there a big lead time on these?
I'm sorry?
Lead time for ordering them?
We could have them in a couple months,
Yeah.
yep.
Is, are these the machines that are at the, when you put your ballot in? to-
Yes, yep,
At the
yep, the
very end?
scanners. Mhm.
So that's why you need 3, you can't, it's
Correct.
not for counting, it's.
It is, it counts the ballots.
Yeah. Okay.
It's- That's what they're replacing the machines at the end of the election. After you check out, you put
Yeah.
the ballot in a machine.
Yeah.
That's what we're replacing.
Okay,
There.
all right, but it
That
doesn't
you
actually tally?
It does.
Oh, really?
It does. Yep, it does. It counts it, tallies it.
I mean, so they know that they voted for you? I mean, that machine knows that you got that vote, or is it just how many votes have been taken?
How many votes were taken? So
Okay.
it tallies, so at the end of the night, it'll say, okay, town clerk, this many votes,
Yeah.
on and on.
Yeah.
So it gives us a final tally, minus the hand-counted ballots, the few that we have to do for the write-ins that people do.
Okay, so how do you get who voted for whom? How do you
I
know who?
don't. I don't know who votes for her.
I know you don't know who I voted
It
for.
tallies up
Right, it
what
tallies
each
at the end.
individual is
So when you-
received for a total number of
Right,
votes. So if
it's a
you and I were
total
running,
number.
you'd say Ellie got 10 and I got 3.
Yeah. I
So
know.
it tells me that,
You
it's a
can have
printout. Yeah.
Like how I did that?
So
Yes.
so each precinct gives me a printout of the total amount of votes per
Per
race.
person, so
Yes.
it does,
It
it
counts
does.
and tallies,
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
That's the whole purpose of the machine.
right,
Yeah.
right.
And no hanging chads.
Right,
How dare you say that, we'll be jinxed.
right. Yeah.
All right, any more questions for Christine on the voting machines? All right.
All right, so next one. So what I did here is I kind of just printed out some pictures. So this is for a climate-controlled storage, for my storage room. Right now, I have a storage room that holds all the public records. My job is I'm the records keeper of the town, so I have a lot of permanent records that I have to maintain. By law, Mass General Law, Chapter 66, Section 11, does state that I am supposed to have a vault, if you will. Right now, for this priority on this one, I'm asking for 60,000 to redo the room. We will have a heat and AC mini split system, would have a hygrometer that measures the humidity, and they're very expensive. I have worked with Betsy Youngsma from the library, and is it Rebecca?
Yes,
Working with them, because they just did that in the library. I can show you what happens. I mean, this is what I'm trying to prevent. Now, these records, when I was in there, and this is what really pushed me to do this, I did have firemen come in and said, you need gloves and masks in here, because these books, now these were 100 years old.
Oh, wow.
So we can pass those around. This is what I'm dealing with right now. These are our records, town records,
Are you in this
that,
one?
Probably. It's been around for a while.
I told you he was gonna get in trouble. I deal with
John
it all
wasn't
the
brave enough to
time.
ask.
Wow.
So these are the town clerks back then, Caswell?
yes. Yep, they're stuck together.
Oh.
Right, I did, when Rebecca, Betsy came in there and looked at some of my books, I had the War of the Rebellions in there, and they were so bad. She had taken one and brought it down to Rebecca to see if the library had them or if Boston Library had them, so we could dispose of them, because they were actually, the mold and the mildew on there was, like you see, they were like this.
So how do you get these corrected?
These, unfortunately, I can't do anything with these. They're just gonna, I'm gonna have to store them in Ziploc baggies. Some of them we did have to dispose of. Highway Department came up and disposed of some for us with the state's approval, because they were actually dangerous. You know, there was,
Yeah.
we had to wear the masks and whatnot. It is a hazard. And as you see, this is the room that that we keep these records in, the ceiling's falling down.
Looks like you got a little bit more mileage on that ceiling.
Yeah, yeah. I do have a safe in there. That safe, you can see in the pictures, I cannot use because there's no combination of key to that. But it shows you with the ceiling falling, what it's doing to the safe. Now, if those were our permanent records, this is what's happening.
So how did
And
you?
this is one of the books
These
as
were
well.
in the
They're
safe?
on shelves in my storage room. Yep. So we're
So
slowly going
what's
through.
in the safe, like adoption papers or?
What's in my safe, I do have, in the safe that you see here, I have no idea because nobody has a key or the combination for it.
Yeah.
For that safe, I do have 3 other safes that I currently use, one in my office and 2 in Jean's office. I keep all vital records in there, town meeting records, I do have the adoptions. They're getting full. And that's why I'm kind of going through this now. I did have a company come in to give me a quote on some shelving to get, we need it waterproof. I'm more concerned of water damage more so than fire with this particular room. So he's working with me as far as getting me a price on those so we can now we can, when my safes that get that full, I can now actually put them in this room. Right now, it's more all the older records that are in there, the assessors records are in there, tax records are in there, as you see. So it's not just a town clerk storage, it's for every department has permanent records that they need to keep. And obviously, we're running out of room in our offices, so now these rooms are getting full.
How about, did you talk about scanning and stuff?
Yeah, we're actually working on that. There are some things that are actually microfilmed, and we are starting to, we can use electronic, where we can use flash drives and whatnot, but we still have to have a paper document.
That's crazy. It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah. With this day and
I mean,
age.
that's
Right.
the whole purpose of scanning, so.
Right, yep, yeah.
Christine,
So-
where is this room?
It's in the resource room.
In the resource,
Yep,
okay.
yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So I need to look at 100 years down the road, so we don't have this, is what I'm looking for.
Have you gone to places like the Antiquarian Society to see if there's a way?
I have not. This is all recent, you know, it was the past month or two, when we were in there looking for an old record, and when we saw the condition of these books, that's why I had, Betsy was here one day, like I said, and I had her come in and look at it. So, there are something I'd like to see what we can do with them, you know?
Before you chuck them, bring them up to the Antiquarian Society and see if they can do
Oh,
something with
yeah,
them.
I would never throw these records away.
Well, the ones
It's-
that you got to throw away, you know?
Those were the War of the Rebellion books, and there was, oh my gosh, there was, how much of those? But I don't know if it was the library, the state already has them.
Oh, okay,
So
yeah.
that's why
Yeah,
I was able
that's-
to throw them
that's
away,
good, yeah.
and I had no choice really on those ones.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to store them, there was that many of them.
Hmm.
Yeah, because I know the library scanned like all the town reports and stuff like that.
Yeah, yep,
And,
yeah, but we gotta keep all hard copies. That's part of,
Yeah.
you know, that's the
Yeah.
permanent records.
So the request is for 60,000 to
Yes.
upgrade the
That storage room.
climate control system.
Yep.
of that room.
Mhm.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions on this project for the town clerk? Okay, we'll move on to priority 3.
So priority 3 kind of coincides with priority 2, however, this is the actual, once we started looking into that storage room, like I said, it is a Mass General law that I am to have an actual vault. So what I did is I had a local contractor try and get me a quote on what the state requires. This is the requirements, I can pass that around. That's a Mass General law. So when I talked to him, he ended up calling a gentleman who does the vaults. And he said, if we could do a 24 by 24 room, it would have to be already on cement, an existing room. So the only place where that would be downstairs in the police station. So in the event that they got a new police station and I could have that room down there, they gave us a quote of approximately $300,000 to have it meet the standards that the law requires. I do want to have this on there just to show the state that I am making a good faith effort to try and get this done. And that's why I kind of came up with priority 2, just to see what we can do with the storage room until the town wins the lottery and we can actually do this stuff.
Are there any grants for any of these, Christine?
There's one, the Community Preservation Act, I
Yeah.
guess. Do you know much about that?
Yeah.
I know it's.
You have the local option,
It
Yeah.
has to be, yeah.
Right, right, and it's just not for these kind of records, I know it's for
Right.
open space.
No, it
and-
is, I mean, you can, in Sturbridge,
is.
they did use that
Right,
type
there's
of
a
money.
percentage that can go to the town clerk for percentage, and I mean, for these records, open space, I believe, is one, there's only certain groups that are eligible for
Recreation.
this.
Yeah, and I think there's
Historical.
housing too on
Is
that
it?
one too.
Yeah, and I know
Affordable
town has to
Affordable
fund
housing, yeah,
some as
but it has
well,
to be
but-
voted.
Right.
Yeah, so
right,
you get part of your taxes every
Right,
time goes to the community.
right, yep. Yep,
Stuff.
so any questions on that?
I don't think so. Anybody else have any questions?
One quick question. This is assuming that you can get the room downstairs. for this-
Correct, yep, yeah, it's an existing room. Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you, Christine.
Thank you for your time.
See which direction we're going. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have Patrice Russo from the Senior Center.
We need to save some of this for the two.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can share with Adam. It's
Did
not-
you, already give us all of this?
I handed it in, I just think I grabbed a copy.
So this is, I mean, is this a duplicate of what we already got?
That's okay, I didn't.
I don't think so.
No.
I think yours came in.
Well,
lower.
there's this
Yeah,
one.
yeah, I think Patrice's came in,
Oh, earlier, no?
Either earlier or
Carpet
later,
lumber.
but it
I
didn't go with the
couldn't,
main packet.
I couldn't email it. I
Right.
had to, because the way that Carpet Lumber had sent me the estimate. I tried a million times to download it, copy it, whatever, and they sent it to me multiple
Sure.
times and it wasn't compatible with my software, so I just hard copied.
Because Patrice is running the most modern software on our computers.
I don't even have a,
You
what
can
was it,
tell
last year I
us.
didn't even have a printer that would do legal paper. That had to do my budget.
So why, it says 24,000 is the project cost, but Carpet Lumber is 19,000.
So I overestimated a little bit based on the fact that in the description it says they're not really sure what they're gonna find underneath. And also it's $35 an hour for manpower to move everything that would have to be moved out and then put back. So, and the estimate was an estimate as to, what you're dealing with when you put up carpet down in the basement. They don't know if they're gonna find any kind
Yeah,
of
so
mold or
that's the
glue
cost
or-
so that's the cost of putting the carpet in
That's the cost of everything, is the
Furniture.
19,000.
and furniture, yeah, right. But you're putting a little pad money in there in case there's any
You're on
unforeseen
the
issues.
24.
Okay.
I do also have $825 that the Sunshine Club had raised for air conditioning. So they had money left over in the account from the air conditioning, so we were gonna put that towards it. Because I had written it for flooring, windows, or any other structural things at the senior center, so.
Quick question. Does this have to have prevailing wage?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
It's a
it's-
149. I'd have to do a procurement, so what you're looking at is a
But
quote.
with that $35
Is it a
an
single
hour fall under
person
the...
business?
Well, I'm not sure. What's the, you
No,
gotta get the
probably.
chart out. and look at
He
the
would be
chart.
down there, he would have subcontractors or whatever.
So you have $825 from the
Sunshine Club.
Sunshine Club.
Yep, left over from the air conditioning that was fundraised through the Sunshine
So,
Club.
is that above the 24,000, or is that included in?
That'll be taken off. I just found out that I had the
Okay.
$825 from Jean last week, so.
So the issue is that the carpeting is old, it's coming up and it's got some ripples, and you actually had a senior citizen fall and
We've had several people trip
Have a,
and fall, but this one woman.
looked like
severely
helter-skelter
hurt.
in there that morning after the
Yeah,
fact.
yeah, it did. She ended up with a pretty good head wound and spent the night in the hospital.
Right.
It was a tough morning. We had somebody trip last week into a chair and ended up bruising the rib.
Wasn't that the
So you
same
do
morning
get
as
caught up on it. It's-
the game show?
It's on cement, and they get cleaned. I mean, we have a lot of volume,
Matt
so
one?
like right now, all the salt and all the parties we've had, so they're gonna have to be cleaned, and when they get cleaned each and every time, they just tend to stretch more. They're also getting ripped up in places. And exercising on the carpet is extremely difficult, because you're wearing, sneakers, so rubber soles.
Yep.
Dancing is very difficult, and that particular incident happened in October during a Zumba class. So, and that's pretty high impact exercise.
Okay.
Ken,
All right.
on her proposed budget of 24,000, I wouldn't go with the estimate of 19, because I'm gonna suspect that you're gonna climb up on the prevailing wage amount from $35. So if it went up $20, 300 hours, that's $6,000 right there. So she's
Right.
gonna be pretty close to that number probably.
Right.
without
I've
any
actually had them quote for
unforeseen-
me before, and I think they did prevailing wage, but I'm not sure.
Well, this number that's on the estimate, I'd be surprised if that was the
Okay.
accurate number of $35 an hour.
Okay.
So what you're saying is you're
So
going to go with
her
the
guesstimate of 24
Yeah.
is probably fairly accurate.
Yeah.
Right.
I
Because-
wouldn't
and if she
assume that
doesn't
it's gonna be
use
at
it,
19,
it's
because I don't think she's gonna be there.
Back to general fund. Yeah.
Okay, good. Any other questions?
Yeah, do you have to do 3 bids or not?
I had talked to them.
Quotes.
Quotes.
3 quotes.
Yeah,
We have to solicit 3 quotes and get at least 2 back in writing at this level of spending.
Because it's under 50,000. If it's over
so
50,000.
have you tried any others?
I have not. This was the one that I
Have
got
gotten?
originally. Yep.
Okay.
But I certainly can.
All right. Thank you very much. Next, we have the schools on the agenda. Welcome Courtney, Jeff, and Mr. Maines.
I guess we'll start with Jeff, because he has 3 of the 4 priorities for FY '20. Starting with the tractor and mower.
Okay, so the tractor and mower were both purchased at the same time when the high school was finished. So around year 16 with those, they do get extensive use. The tractor does the main portion of the work with the small unit that we do. So in the last 2 weeks, we've worn a few hydraulic lines on that one. We'll require pulling the cab off to repair it. So that particular repair will get into some money.
Way down, about halfway down.
The tractor has approximately 2,500 hours on it. I'm not sure of the hours on the mower. Any questions on those two?
That's an 03, Jeff, that tractor
Yep, tractor and mower.
and mower.
And what was quoted were the current models that replace those.
And it's John Deere.
Yes.
You ever look at other brands
Uh,
like Kubota?
They don't give the hat. The other ones
Well,
don't give.
I know. I thought we got one from
Who let you out today?
we hadn't,
You'd have to get a new CD for it. Drive around on the new tractor.
Why I have a John Deere hat and we have a Kubota tractor.
So 61,000,
for both. Right.
9,
And that's with the same attachments as what we have.
And that's the
72-inch mower deck.
bottom mower underneath, belly mower,
I believe it's a front mounted.
front mount.
It's the front mounted machine.
Is there a difference between the mower price-wise as far as whether it's below, in front, or behind?
I think a zero-turn machine, if it was like below the machine, it would be a little less money. The thing with that machine though is that climbs those hills you see out in front.
yeah.
Which it's got weight distribution valve, so, you know, if you take a little weight off the mower deck, it keeps it on the hill, takes it right to the top. You couldn't do that with it.
Underneath.
So are these strictly mowers? They don't do any plowing or anything like that?
The mower that we have, you can put a snow blower attachment on it, which would be a good option. It's a lot of power, so.
Would you consider looking at Kubota too?
Sure.
Because it's, we did, when we bought our tractor and looked at John Deere and looked at Kubota, and it was a lot, you know, like half the price of John Deere. And so- And we're very satisfied with it too, so.
Is there a trade-in value to the existing tractor?
Yes, we actually had a trade-in value on the machine on last year's.
But that's not figured into this.
No.
Any idea what that would be?
Substantially more than the one that we traded in last year, that was 1,500, but these, we have to have them assessed and go from there.
So you will get estimates on the other brands?
Sure.
Any other questions on the tractor?
Okay, item 2, double testing fitness equipment. In January, I had all of the equipment assessed, and these all go back to 2003. The 3 pieces that are listed are no longer available, parts are no longer available. And I, along with the person who assessed it, recommended to the athletic director that they be taken out of service for safety. So that quote, I believe, lists the new equipment, removing the old equipment, the setup.
And again, would you get any trade-in value, do you think?
I would say definitely not on that, because they're outdated.
Yeah.
You can't get any parts for the
Okay.
equipment.
Any grants for any of the gym equipment? I know sometimes with public safety there is, but I'm not sure about the schools.
Not anything I've seen on anything like that. You have a hard enough time getting the grants for the academic stuff, because they'll actually eliminated a bunch of grants for even academics.
Okay. Is that it, Jeff, with that, or?
Yep.
Does police have treadmills and steppers too? Or fire, or anybody else? And is the school the only place that treadmills and?
We have some
steppers are?
equipment at the fire station that's all been donated stuff.
Yeah.
But their contracts actually have gym memberships.
I thought at one point, way back, they were using some of the school.
No, we never really did that. We had entertained it, but
Yeah, okay. All right.
we do have stuff at the fire station. All right. We still, another project in the gym, Jeff? Oh, is that, that's the gymnasium painting. Is that where you were going next?
Yeah, so that is the underside of the roof. So it's basically from the block up, it's all the steel work. Paint's coming off, all the ductwork, masking off the backboards, covering the floor. Basically, it's need to be sprayed from lift. So that, and pretty much what it is.
Mm-hmm. And that's the quote from that company,
Yes.
Arch Painting, okay. Any questions on painting of the upper part of the gym? For Jeff?
This has been on for quite a while, Jeff.
2016.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, okay.
You don't get any questions, Jeff, just keep motoring along.
Amy, you'll-
Gonna pick up Don's
Yeah.
number 3.
Okay, yeah, under number 3, with the high school's mounted LCD projectors in the classrooms, there's 20 of them. Those are original to the building, when the building was built, about 13, 14 years old. They're used by the teachers every day in the classroom. They're failing. I've been replacing them one at a time as they've been failing. But now I'm also getting to the point where they're old enough, when the bulbs go, I can't get replacement bulbs for them. So if a bulb goes, I have to replace a projector. So this is a quote to replace the remaining 20 original LCD projectors in the classrooms.
Is that an up-to-date technology,
Yes,
the LCD?
yes. There's different types, like at the newer schools, we have these short throw ones which are mounted on the wall. I'm looking at, because we already have ceiling mounted ones, I got quotes for both. It was significantly more expensive to go with the same type we have the other buildings.
Yeah.
The ceiling mounted ones are adequate for the needs. So that's what we're going through, because then we can use the existing mounts and most of the existing wiring.
Any questions, anyone, about the LCD projectors?
So, the quote was 24,995, right?
Yes. And then I just left a little margin for
Sure.
wiring
30,000.
that might need to be done,
Mhm.
the miscellaneous.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so the items that are, so the FY21, the crack seal, driveways and parking lots at the high school and primary school, and the waiting quotes. It's an estimate that number's an estimate on the waiting quotes. I've had one contractor measure it, and I'm waiting on another one to recommend to me. The exterior beams at the high school, the paint's continuing to come off there. That's been on, we got that on here for a little bit. So that's the I-beams that go across the front of the cafeteria around the main entrance, the gymnasium, and also on the backside of the gym and the library.
Okay.
Repairs to the access road in the back, that was repairs and repaving. And again, I'm waiting on quote on that as well.
Oh,
Hit that server.
that's the phone system. We agree is the DHS phone system replacement. That's, again, it's reached end of life. I've had this on here for a few years. It's still working fine, so every year I look at it and say, all right, we can push it back another year. But eventually, we're not, it's still reliable at this point. Eventually, however, it's gonna be unable to be, replacement parts and things like that, but we're good for this year, we're good for another year. But eventually, we don't have to look at doing it.
Again, is our phone systems different these days than an
Yes.
operator or something like that?
Well, like this phone system that's at the high school now is an analog system. It's called, basically the phone wires run through the building. The newer phone systems are network-based, which allows more interoperability. So, but we upgraded that to one of the network-based IP phone systems. It would be more it would work with the other schools
Yep.
as well. We would share the telephone line called the PRI. We have one at the high school, we have one that the other buildings share. We have the same system. It would share that outside line with those. There would be 4-digit dialing, so the technology is somewhat different now.
Oh, along those lines, I think we replaced the phone system here a couple of years ago, and that was like 17 grand, so it's a lot bigger place, so.
And you're requesting 45,000?
Yeah, again, because, the quote was 30-something, I don't have it right in front of me, but,
32,000?
yeah, so that would be also including, if we have to add some wiring, switches,
Yep.
until we actually go to the specifics, I don't know all
Sure.
of that.
You don't know what you don't know yet.
And you'd be getting more estimates than just one, or is that
Yes, well, we would go
limited?
through the state contract and whatever the terms of the state contract require us to do, as far as quotes, bids, whatever, that's what we would do.
Yeah, because it can be different.
Yeah.
Go by the contract user's guide for each contract.
Back to you, Jeff.
All right, so the recoating and painting track. So the maintenance recommendations from construction were that happened between year 4 and 7, and now at year 6. So 2020 is, that would be year 7. So the printing side of the track is stable, pretty good. There's a lot more traffic on that side of the track because of the events. I spoke to the installers, and they had all the big ones come out and estimated they have all the information from the installation, so I thought it would be easier to get it from them. The only thing they told me was it would be high five figures, maybe six. So that's why it's listed at that number. I'll continue to try to get them out to look at that to give us a solid estimate to do that.
So right now, your estimate is 100,000?
Right.
And they said it was a high five figure,
Maybe 6.
Right.
maybe
Yeah.
6?
How much did it cost when we put it in?
Okay. Get that information.
If I remember correctly, it was around $750,000.
Really?
Because we had the battle over the looping of the hydrant system, and I used it as, okay, let's use priorities here. So it's, at least it was in that area anyway.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, it's just recoating and painting, it's not, I think around year 15, that's when you take out the base.
So that's what, 7.5%, 10% of the cost, really? The maintenance after 7 years?
Oh, depends on what it is.
Well, if it was 750,000, it'd be 7.5%.
No, I'm saying, oh, you're talking about this
Right.
specifically, yeah. I was gonna say maintenance changes, it depends on what the item is, yeah.
So, the last one, which is FY '22, is the primary school. We just listed renovations. The main section of the roof is about 42,500 square feet. That goes back to 1993 when that was replaced. I think there was a collapse there. It was a couple of years before I started, and that was replaced then, out of warranty. The estimate that's included was strip the seams and redo the seams, so probably might be able to get 10 more years out of it. And then, just looking for those items. And we have the floor tile there. It's assumed that there's asbestos in the adhesive, which is not a problem. It's safe as long as it stays intact. Windows, the original section of the building, most of the windows, the seals are gone. If you look at it, it kind of looks like somebody dumped milk all over the windows. So, could possibly reglaze the windows. Frames are, there's no problems with frames. There's some things we could do maybe without completely replacing, like with the roof, with the seams, and just to get more time, so. Courtney and I were talking about it, it probably makes sense at some point to do an assessment on the whole facility. Because it goes back to, I think construction started in 1977, so. I know the flooring is original flooring, the water heater is original, the boiler is, I believe, 1995, that was updated, so that's 23 years on it. So just different components, getting pretty old. Cafeteria section was 2003. The extension that goes out towards the elementary school, like we just did 6,000 square feet of roofing on that, so that's a couple of years old, so. I guess, that being said, I just had a question. When, I know you want to see things on a 5-year plan, so take something like a high school, which is now 16 years old, do you want to maybe see that on 20 years for an assessment to kind of get a baseline on where the building is, or 25? And with the middle school, we did the renovation there. We're at 27 years where the doors were rotten, the roof was leaking, a lot of issues there, but that was the time frame of that when we did the renovation there, so. Just wondering, do you want to see things maybe at 20 or 25, at least to do an assessment, so we're not trying to make repairs. If you start having major things fail year after year after year, so it doesn't make sense to do an assessment before you get to that point.
So the reason that I put in FY '22, the 639,200 for the primary school is, as Jeff said, it's very, very old. as you, because most of you have been on the capital planning for a number of years, is, we were bringing a separate sheet for every single thing at the primary, so there were like 4 or 5 things. So I had spoken with Matt just to talk about, now we knew that because we just came off of doing 2 buildings, a renovation and a brand new building, we knew we weren't going to put anything, before the town with regard to doing a project. But it made sense when we talked about it to at least show it together on this sheet. So if there is a possibility, down the road, to maybe go before MSBA for maybe a renovation or something on the building, if that makes sense and the town decides to do so, we thought we would start actually putting it together, because there were a number of components. And then again, to this point, we have been discussing the high school as well. Now, certainly that's not 32, 34 years old yet, but as you've been seeing, the last several years, we've been putting some things on here as well. So like Jeff said, we just thought we were coming up on a time where maybe it made some sense. And it does cost money to do that, to get somebody to come out and look at all your components and things of that nature and put together some figures. But certainly the high school it's not 35 years old yet, or even 30 years old. But so we wanted to start at least having those discussions with regard to the primary school and the high school. What makes sense with regard to planning purposes going forward, and how we want to discuss that, town versus school, MSBA, and then there's a backup time frame, as you know. But we know we're not putting any school projects before anybody, in the near future. I want to make that clear, but we definitely need to have it, actually have it here and have it, be discussing it.
Right.
Have we paid off the high school debt yet?
Oh, I don't have anything to do with that.
You wouldn't know?
No, this is
I'm
the
not
year
the town
we did the
accountant.
refunding this year.
No, I have nothing to do with that.
Yeah, do you know,
Yeah.
Shirley?
No.
No.
You would give us some
Yeah.
input on that.
Jane's not here, so.
Yeah.
not
She-
here.
Well, I'm just wondering,
And
I mean,
Matt.
how long, when you get a debt exclusion or whatever we're talking about, how long does that usually last for? And if it's in the high school, is it 20 years, 30 years? Or it just depends?
30 years. Gene's going to have to give you the details. We did a refunding bond this year, and I believe that was the high school.
And it does depend. I mean, I'm not
So
going to
you-
get into answering the question, that's for sure.
There's
but it
savings.
does
No,
depend.
but you would
Yeah.
hope that the
It's not my
building
place.
will be in A1 shape by, for all of that debt time.
No, you're going to make sure that you take care of the building so it lasts.
Which has
You
been
do
the
hope
issue.
that, you hope you have a honeymoon where you're not making major maintenance decisions, but there comes a point that major components in the building don't necessarily last as long as the bones of the building itself. Your heating plant, there's two things. One is the efficiency of the mechanical devices just keeps getting better and better. So you want to replace them in timely fashion so you take advantage of the operational savings of using less fuel, for instance. But then they just have wear and tear. A water heater, I'm surprised that water heaters have.
Yeah, that's amazing.
God bless you, because that's
And
never, I know,
Yeah.
not that's,
Yeah.
usually when they
I
die,
didn't
they
hear a
don't
word
tell
you
you they're
said.
gonna die. They don't tell you, they just show up, dead. But, yeah,
So the elementary, the 1977 one is now the preschool.
Yes.
K and
Well, I
one.
mean, primary school.
It's called the primary
It's called the primary school with preschool
Pre-K
K and
one.
1, yeah.
And the quality of the mechanical equipment, if you look at the primary school versus the elementary school, we've got the water heater going on, it's still running. We have pumps that are still there, and we've already replaced a handful of pumps at the elementary school. So what you buy today is not what you got
Right.
30
So
plus
it's,
years ago.
what you,
Same with the high
you
school, too.
lied just then.
no.
The quality is far better.
No, it's
they're
different.
coming-
He was talking
It may
about-
run like a tank, but that means it
No,
gets
no, he
3
was talking
miles to
about
the gallon.
efficiency. Yeah.
So they need to be replaced for that.
Now,
Yeah, you were talking about efficiencies
Yeah,
versus,
Yeah.
yeah. Two
Longevity.
different things, yeah, how long they, exactly.
and I remember, and you do too probably, when the elementary school was built. Now, when, and I just wasn't, I thought that they had already outlawed asbestos and stuff at that point.
It's not, so it's only an issue if it's friable or it's airborne. So this is,
I know, but I-
She's talking about being used in products, so I think that was close to the timeline. as of when it was, so it would be safe to do an assessment on it to make, he didn't say the tiles, he said the mastic itself. So there is a possibility, because back in the 70s, they were still using asbestos and brake linings in cars. So there's a possibility,
Yeah.
and I think is what Jeff meant.
And we're required to do
To
a
have it
3-year
tested, yeah.
management plan. The asbestos, it gets reviewed, it actually just got reviewed on the February vacation, so just waiting for the reports on that to be updated.
Lead paint was up to 78, so,
Really?
yeah, 1978 is when they stopped.
I know, it doesn't seem like it, does
No,
it?
but the-
It doesn't seem like it.
No, we
Asbestos
got
was-
batted out
Yeah.
on lead paint on our
I think
house.
asbestos
Is
was
that the
86.
original roof on that main building?
93, no.
No, 93.
That collapsed, and
Yeah.
John probably remembers.
Yeah, that was in the 80s, late 80s.
93, so you get 26 days on it now.
Yeah.
So to me, it probably should have still been under warranty, right?
I've
I
been
heard
on
him
it
say
for
something
That was
about
early
warranty.
90s.
with Greenwood.
It's in, I mean, it's in good shape, but.
Well, no, it's in good shape, just things need to be done.
I mean, I think a list like you have here is good for any of the buildings, just to keep it updated so you know, there's no surprises to anybody,
Right,
you know?
exactly.
And again, along with what John's saying, I think it's wise, and I've always advocated for 5-year plans. And we need to know where we are with the high school and, as far as the funding and the payback and when is it coming off the list. And also having this in front of us, knowing, I think this is great, to know that, we need to start looking, because before MSBA didn't do anything as far as renovations.
right.
And we were one of the first with the middle school and when the high school was built. And that was great, because otherwise it wasn't good. So to know this and to keep an eye on it, and also where we are, Dean will provide us with the information as to where we are with that bill. And that kind of keeps things on an even keel here. But you also have to get your community out there, because there is a waiting time.
Right, that's why I mentioned the
MSBA.
time frame. Yes, actually,
Absolutely.
it's a couple of years, really, it does,
Yeah,
yeah.
so something to think about as far as
Yeah, the further
an
we can look down the
evaluation.
road, the
Yeah.
better. The better we are, we're gonna be able to
I
plan
always
better.
was asking for 5-year plans, so we need to
I
know.
think 5 years should be the minimum bar.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, but it's hard, it's also difficult to go any further in the sense, what's the population gonna be, which is probably gonna increase, versus how many kids, I agree.
And it's hard to
So-
go out further too, because you don't know when things are going to. It's amazing, because to Jeff's point, with the new buildings,
Yeah.
it seems if you look at something, no, I shouldn't even say it, but with a school, we really haven't had any problems.
Courtney,
Shush.
right? I
We'll send you an email.
I'll make sure I just wanna make sure I note the right person, that's all.
I told you.
M-A-R-G-Y.
It's gonna be.
Make up a name. But, we say that all the time, the newest schools,
Oh,
I
yeah.
hate to say it, but we've been having constant problems, but yet the oldest one, it just, and it's hard for us, looking at it from the school building end, how do you gauge? It's so hard, you can't go by common
I
sense
know.
or logic, yeah.
And we're fortunate to
But-
have people like Jeff
Mhm.
doing the schools, because he
Yeah.
keeps up on things and
Mhm.
knows that before it was kind of like, okay, everything's fine, don't look.
Oh, no, that's not Jeff.
I know. I know, Jeff.
Yeah.
But
Pays
the other
attention
thing
to
is,
detail,
for
yeah.
things like the tractor, I mean, you should be able to gauge, okay, if we buy a brand-new tractor today, in 15 or 20 years,
Right,
we need to know
right, to put it on
what's the
there.
price of a tractor gonna be.
Yeah,
and-
that's an
gotta-
easy one, that's true, yeah.
And it's the same with,
Mhm.
dump trucks and fire trucks. and
Yeah,
things
Yeah.
like that.
exactly.
Yeah,
But it's a little bit more difficult when you have 50 and 60-year-old buildings that,
And if you don't maintain them, it's just like your house. gotta keep it up. Otherwise, it's a real big, and sometimes you can't because of the wear and tear and how much use it's gotten and how has it been needed to be renovated to accommodate what grades are in there and, yeah.
400 people moving around the building, what, 6 times a day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make a big difference
Yeah.
in how long something lasts.
Exactly.
Mr.
So
Chairman,
is that all your projects?
Can I ask
We
one
discussed
question?
all
Oh,
that?
that's actually
Matt
one more.
has a
Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead, if you have something
Oh,
else.
I had accidentally skipped over
Okay, that's why I asked.
this
I didn't know.
replacement server, district-wide replacement server,
Okay.
storage area network server. What that is our network is based on what's called virtual servers. And there's one, a storage server where all the actual data and everything resides. So that's kind of the single point of failure. It's 5 years old now, which in tech years is like 50. So I gotta think about it's working, but I gotta think about replacing that soon. You don't have an actual quote because the technology is changing so much that I'm not even sure if in 2021 will I be getting a server like that or will I be doing something a little bit different with cloud-based. So this 40,000 is just based on a conversation with, consultant who said, yeah, you could do it for that.
Okay.
That's all that is.
Sometimes that's the best they'll give you, because they're not gonna spin their wheels
No, it's something
in a
that,
place that's not, where they're not gonna get the
Get the
job right
work.
away.
yes. So that,
Especially in that area.
yes, because like I say, by 2021,
Yeah.
it could be a different technology
Right.
that I'm looking at, so,
Okay, good.
so that was that.
My question was, do you guys want to replace that fuel tank at the middle school? 'Cause it's-
Activity,
it's
pros and
undersized
cons, Yeah, we don't
It's
know
a
why. I
complicated
have no idea
project.
why that size got put in there. I
Yeah.
have no
I think
idea.
I know why, because so, the 10,000 gallon tank that was underground was right behind the old generator pad, which is, if you're looking at the dumpsters, there's 2 doors, and so now they go with the above ground, they fit the tank to go in between the 2 doors. So if you're looking at the 10,000 gallon tank above ground, it would be beyond the 2 doors. But I'm wondering, could you put it over in the corner, behind the dumpsters, turn the other way, and do a 10,000 above ground there?
Yes, we'd have to, could you do some,
I
see
mean,
if that can be,
you've probably
see if that can be
you've
done.
probably seen the deliveries, it's every other week here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You get it.
Well, my concern was in our
Yes.
conversation about the delivery schedule and the loads, was
Well, the whole
that
thing,
it-
yeah.
it's so old, you've got some sludge build up, and so you top it off in order to prevent any problems.
Yeah.
I think that's at the point you start talking about replacing a tank when you,
Yeah, I mean, I do that anyway.
No,
Yeah.
we don't, yeah.
I just do it. as a
no, you do it,
practice.
so that's my point, which is your responsible management of the situation does indicate that an underlying problem, the tank is getting old and it may be too small.
Yeah, too
So,
small.
I mean, I think we,
13 years ago.
I'd ask the chairman to be open-minded about entertaining a project for its replacement. It's
Yeah.
one heat failure and on the wrong weekend in the middle of the winter, and all the
Yeah,
rest
I
of this is
know,
fluff.
I know. It's too small for a building like that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
so
it
I mean,
just, yeah.
the elementary school's about 90,000 square feet, middle's 88, so elementary's got a 10,000, primary school's 38,000 square feet, that's got a 10,000 underground, so, you know, we kind of woefully short for the 5,000 gallon, I think.
Mhm, mhm.
We had an oil spill back in '05, I think.
That was ugly.
'04, and that's when all that happened, so.
So you don't have it on here?
No, these are just recent discussions. Matt
That
had
was the
mentioned it, it's
actual
something
values.
that,
That was the Valdez.
I'd ask you to think about it, just because I think
Yeah,
it's
we
gonna
would put
rectify
it in,
your
yeah.
purchasing issue, but more importantly, it'll
well, you gotta have
prevent.
heat, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that would be,
Yeah, but if you
yeah.
buy more volume at a time, you get a better deal.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
well,
Well,
I think we've had a nice break this year in that the more intelligent delivery company won the bid that Courtney put out. So we're probably back to being able to do things a little bit more intelligently than this current delivery service is willing to do.
Yeah,
That doesn't mean you can count on it, though. So 10,000 is the minimum.
yeah, especially for a building that large.
And the
Then they
sludge buildup
insist.
Can be good for the tank.
No.
Sooner or
but
later,
that's
is
at
that
the
a steel
middle
tank?
school, right?
Right.
Sooner or later, that's gonna cause an issue.
been there, done that. It's one of my more colorful childhood stories. What happens when the sludge gets to,
And that came up from that minimum delivery,
Yeah.
where if we let it get too low, we start really pulling off the bottom.
Well, I'm more concerned with it is, water's heavier than oil, so it's gonna be at the bottom of the tank, and if you're not drawing it down, sooner or later, you're gonna cause issues with the internal, from the inside out on that tank, I would think.
So,
Somebody come
you
down
just
there
keep
and
your-
take a Look at it and.
your agenda open, and if they
Yeah,
wanna
maybe
write it
they
up,
can-
they can write it up.
Yeah,
Some
if you want-
pricing.
Yeah,
We'll keep that open spot on the agenda for you.
Have that by 1 o'clock, Jeff?
I thought noon. Still got 57 minutes.
Is that all the projects for the school we have to talk about?
I believe so.
Does anybody have any questions on any of the school projects that have been submitted? Guess not.
And I do have for you an update on FY '19. Just figured I'd bring it. There's your copies here. So all of the projects have been completed. The only one that went a little bit over was the security cameras. Of course, we covered that difference in our general fund budget. And the only one that we have left to do, which is a little bit more complicated, is still the primary school, the exterior locks.
security.
Yep, getting the specifications written up before we can even, go out and do the bid process. But, everything's coming in, it's come in very well.
And who do you use for that? Didn't we talk to Adam about doing that here? And, but, and I can't remember, I guess I could look at that.
I forget the guy's name. It's the guy that bought Blackstone Valley Lock,
Yeah.
the Sergeant locks versus,
The primary school, we're having that needs to be
The fobs?
in conjunction
Yeah,
with the
the
same, with what we have at the other two schools.
right,
So, in order to do the specifications, there's a company that did the specifications, we want to make sure it matches, so we
Yeah,
don't have any
the school,
problems.
yeah.
This isn't just like coming out and just getting the locks, it's actually work with the system that we have currently in place, the safety system at the other two
When you
schools.
show up at night to, with an alarm, you'll be able to, one master will do the primary, once it's updated, primary school, middle, and elementary, so that they'll all be on the same Grandmaster system.
So we just want to make sure, we have to, all those different doors
Sure.
and everything, make sure we got it, so it's a little bit more complicated than the others.
good enough.
So you have 92,865 left, is it?
Oh, no, that's just showing the final cost, and remember, it doesn't include the
The
door
door
security.
security.
That's why I'm saying I will
So you still
update
have a-
that
yeah.
column, exactly, yep.
Looks like you're under budget on all of them, so that's good.
Except for the first.
Except for the first one, which we
Right.
covered the difference in the general fund. And the first column is the appropriation amount
Right.
from the town meeting, yeah.
Yep.
And then I'll update that
Thank you.
final cost column when we finish the primary
Alright.
school. I thought I'd
Great.
give you that update.
Yeah.
Good enough. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
John, did you get one?
I didn't.
Hey, Pat, come on up.
Round two?
I have a copy of
Or you want me to just
what you
go-
guys
Okay.
to consider with this project, is what we're based
Mr.
on.
Fontaine had to leave.
Yes, Tom Devlin had to leave for something, I wasn't sure. We appreciate you taking us.
Okay,
Yes.
that's fine.
Matt, do you need a copy too?
No, it's all right.
Wednesday at 2 o'clock. Yeah. I'll talk to her, remind me to talk to her. All right.
Thank you. See you then.
Oh,
So this is the project that, I printed this one out. You probably already have it. Welcome, Pat.
Thank you very much.
Is, Okay,
So this, in the meeting room next door in the resource room, we have currently a speaker system in the ceiling and some older equipment that was, it's probably early 2000s that was initially installed. And we've rapidly had changes with our recording equipment and the meeting room equipment, and that system is no longer communicating well with the current equipment in there. It doesn't work very properly. And we had issues with it. Last spring, we really started to identify some severe issues with the equipment. It wasn't giving us what we needed as far as when that room is full and we have a large crowd. It's very difficult for people to hear what people at the table are saying, and the people at the table can't hear the people in the audience. So we started looking at possible upgrades. We haven't upgraded that system in a very long time, so something that was coming anyway. So the quote that we got now is from Pro Sound Service, and they did a really great job going through everything and giving us a system that would work with our current equipment and that would, help us go into the new stuff that we have, as far as being able to split off mixes. So what this system will do is, first of all, upgrade the microphones that we're using, which is going to be a huge upgrade to what we're currently using. The big part of this is that there's going to be separate mixes available to us. So what will happen is the people at the table will be speaking. That mix will go into the speakers that are over the audience. So the audience will be able to hear the people at the table, no problem. The audience microphones that will be installed in the ceiling over the seating area will be mixed into speakers that are going over the table, so that the people at the table will be able to hear the audience members. All of this is different from a separate mix, which is going to go into the cable system, which gives us an even mix of everything in the whole room, all the audience, and anything that's plugged in, any other type of equipment that they might use for like audio presentations, whatnot. So really, it's going to give us a multiple mix, new microphones, new speakers, and for us, one of the big things is that our recording assistants aren't trying to mitigate the audio while they're trying to record. So it is a self-mix system, and once it's all in place, we really shouldn't have to tweak any of the settings very much. So it just kind of brings us into the current state of equipment.
Out of the antique era, you mean?
Correct, yeah. Yeah, because the old system was really designed, just a decade ago, everything was very simple as far as connecting the audio to the video, and now it's just such a different ball game. Everything's changed so much. So this quote in front of you is really, this is our ideal system right here. That would work for that room. And I know even the other night they had a planning board meeting in there, and they were not very happy with the way people couldn't hear. And it's kind of, that room's not very acoustic anyway, so as much help as we can give it for people to hear, I think would be a solid idea.
I hate to say it, but this has always been a problem.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, even the last system was not ideal.
Was always a problem.
Because the last system didn't have multiple mixes, so what we were doing is trying to get a mix that you could hear in the room and that you could hear on the cable, and it just, without a real audio engineer at the mixing board, you're really not going to get a good result. We did have issues with that old system constantly.
So why are you here? Why isn't cable or Charter paying for this? I mean, that's what I thought.
Oh, well, this is a request. So we were essentially put on the town's schedule as far as doing things like this. Yeah, so
But it'd still be paid for by
the cable funds, right?
Okay.
We're not asking for town funds on this.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
The only thing was an ADA compliant portion, which would add, for folks who have hard of hearing, it would add headsets for them in room, that we did discuss with Matt about picking up that portion where that's a in-room.
That's the $1,000.
That's the $1,000, yeah.
But the rest of it's all through cable funds.
Correct, all through the cable funds.
Makes sense. That's acceptable.
But again,
Thank you.
it has always been a problem.
Right. I've noticed sitting in the audience there, especially during the summer when the AC kicks on, you
Oh.
can't hear a word they're saying
No.
at the table.
Yeah, it's very difficult, yeah.
So, oh, that'd be good.
And we do set up mics for the audience sometimes, but without people being directed to the microphones, they don't always do it, so. I
And
think
I've also
that-
sat and watched a meeting at home with no sound.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's not fun.
I think they're saying
Then,
this.
then we start,
oh, yeah. Yeah, that's why we want to do something like this, to
Yeah, yeah.
just,
And that's when the conspiracy theories start.
exactly. Well, and the audience microphones will be very similar to what we have in here, where it just picks up,
Right.
you know, a little bit more of the, instead of having a separate mic set up for them.
All right. Any questions for Pat?
Nope.
thank you.
All right?
I guess you hit the ball over the fence, Pat.
Well, thank you, guys, I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
Mr. Wojcik, would you like to join us at the table?
Sure.
I squeezed in Pat on number 4. So the next item on the agenda is grant strategy for prioritized projects. We'll talk to Natalie.
So, by way of update, the legislature earmarked $100,000 in the current year's state budget for the town of Douglas for a public safety vehicle, an ambulance. And contrary to what anything they say, the reality is, if you recall that budget process, it wasn't the neatest and cleanest thing. There were some hiccups along the way. The town, at town meeting, approved the purchase of an ambulance because both of our ambulances were running poorly and one of them was running far worse than the other. In order to keep the ambulance service running effectively, we used the town meeting approved funds, came in well under budget, got a brand new ambulance, and was able to equip that ambulance and the other, the reserve ambulance with detachable, removable capital items that still are necessary for the operation of the rescue service, ambulance service. You remember in Massachusetts, those are different.
ICS, too.
So the old, true. So the old ambulance does have a brand new cardiac monitor defibrillator because they were bought at the same time, and it has a new CPR machine that was bought with the leftover funds from the ambulance. But now comes the issue: what happened to the $100,000 that was set aside by the state budget? And attempts to get the legislators to help us were fruitless. Unfortunately, it's not a stellar day for either of the legislators. They just couldn't figure out how to do it. So I ended up interacting personally with the state department. We sent the necessary paperwork. The $100,000 was released to the town. So as soon as we return the contract, we get the $100,000. So it's not a reimbursement contract, it's a grant, basically a grant of funds. Now, Gene and I were concerned that if we went to special town meeting, that we would have a very compressed time frame to do the procurement, to get the reimbursement, the funds out of the state before the end of their fiscal year. So we interacted with them and asked for an extension. So we have an extension through December 31 of 2019 to use the $100,000. Obviously, this, not everybody who makes financial decisions wants to be presented with a fait accompli, if you will, something that's already been decided. But in this case, Ambulance 2 is in very poor shape. It's an old Chevy van chassis that was, again, we have this discussion a lot. We don't want to be the guinea pigs. We don't want to beta test anything. The town is too small. We have too much exposure to financial risk to be anybody's test case. Unfortunately, I think that Chevy van was probably bought when you needed it, and it was the right price.
Right.
It was the first year that DEF fluid and the system for diesel engines was incorporated in that technology, and it stinks, frankly. Every time the chief brings it in for service at Imperial, they look like they're trying to find a needle in a haystack, and they don't usually find it. And so it's, it just gets expensive over a period of time. You don't fix the right thing, then the wrong thing just keeps breaking, and I think that's kind of where we are. So we want to get rid of the old ambulance. Now, the Chevy will go in for repairs.
It's in now.
It's in now. It's going to cost about 3,200
Yeah.
to fix it, but its trade-in value will be probably close to 10 or 12,000. So we're not taking a loss on it. But the notion is, because the grant funds are there, that we need to raise the ambulance up in your rating system so that we go to town meeting and ask for the remainder of the funds. Is there any other potential source? Yes, there is. This is like trying to predict the weather in New England, but if the cannabis grow facility, the very first day they have a certificate of occupancy and they begin to plant, that's actually how the host community agreement is written. The day they plant their first plant, they need to come across with a check for $10,000 to the town for it.
Oh, I thought it was 100,000.
No, it's 10. The
Okay,
amount
no,
goes up.
it does say that here. It says
Yeah.
100,000 from state and 10,000 from marijuana.
Am I making notes?
No, you're making noise with your.
I can't hear it. Give me one of those
I can
headphones.
guarantee that Mary Wright, God bless her soul, hears every tap, every click,
Yeah.
and it's
Especially
distracting.
for me.
Well, because it depends where the microphone is.
I'm sorry.
I got yelled at already.
Oh, yeah?
I was tapping out a nice little African beat one night on the table, and that's all I heard about was how the minutes are illegible because the town administrator decided to play the drums. Just saying,
Just saying.
saving you a little bit of call down. So that's where we are with the ambulance.
Won't be the first time.
So, I think somebody was going to look into it, I don't know if it was Jean or you, into how much money was in the revolving fund. We chatted about that a bit, that you use it quite a bit for staffing, but initially, or when it was first set up, it was, ambulance receipts were supposed to go towards a new ambulance, and that was many years ago.
Yeah, and I'm still going back and forth with Gene. So the revenues from the ambulance go into a restricted receipts
We're
account.
still doing it. You know, it's-
You go into a restricted receipts account that the town typically has relied upon for general fund expenditures associated with the salaries and other expenses of the ambulance department. And it doesn't quite cover, it's close, it doesn't quite cover, but none of it's been set aside for a purchase of an ambulance. Where would we be this year? Where are we gonna close out? Will we close out with enough general fund revenue where the restricted receipts account doesn't get a drawdown to pay for staff? That's an open-ended question. That might take us deep. Maybe it's good we can explore that through December 31st, so we would close this year and have some idea whether, because normally, you know what we do, we go to fall town meeting and we ask for, we look back to the
After you
expenses.
get your certified free cash.
Right, and fund what is usually a planned deficit in the ambulance budget with restricted receipts account. That's very technical, but that's how it's been working. So where are we right now? I'm afraid we're not gonna be in a good spot, because I think your ambulance has been broken down so much, we've lost 25,000 in revenue.
Easily. We had, I think we did some stats, I should have got them from Tony. The first few weeks of March and, I'm sorry, January and February, we gave away 20 calls because the ambulance was already out, we couldn't staff the set, we didn't have another truck to take the other calls, so.
We're optimistic about this, so even though the new model year would be a more expensive chassis, because it goes up every year, of course, that's the business they're in, we don't have to equip it. So we would have the defibrillator and the CPR machine already. And it's just a question of the new configuration.
And this is, we can get it, I think I told you this, we can get the gas versus the diesel, which I was talking to our mechanic. It's a lot less to, the oil changes are a lot less money on the gas. And obviously, gas is cheaper than diesel right now. So,
Dangerous game.
and we could save a lot of money going gas versus diesel, but I'm not sure.
It's the same engine in my 550s, the V10s, the Fords.
My question was, okay, this is the first year you're offering as an ambulance, is it a first generation that I don't want?
I doubt it. The
But I
thing
don't
is,
think-
that 550, that's a tried and true.
Absolutely. Same with the V10 engine that's in it.
Right. So, well, that's further down the line, I think we'll have to figure out how we spec that for procurement purposes. But that has an impact on your rating, because you're no longer looking at $240,000, I guess, looking at $140,000 to basically a 60-40 match. We're in the same situation, I think I've mentioned this in previous meetings, to just kind of update you on where we are.
Sure.
The state is benefiting from a national settlement between the federal government and Volkswagen
Yeah.
over cheating on diesel emissions testing. And the first round of funding being made available through the Commonwealth is $7.5 million. And there are restrictions on the kind of equipment that you can replace or refurbish with grant funds. Fortunately for us, the dump trucks that we are most likely to replace at the highway department meet the threshold. So they're old enough, so they're within the model year, and they have a large enough gross vehicle weight that they qualify as a heavy-duty dump truck. So those two things in combination are really the only thing we had to prove specifically in order to be eligible for a grant. But because we're evil geniuses, John and I looked at it's a very interesting cost structure around the dump truck that's equipped to be a sander plow. Because you more or less end up with the engine and chassis is half, the sander plow equipment is the other half. So if we were to say to town meeting, please give us the funding for one dump truck, but we were successful with the grant, we could get two to replace the 1996, which is a smog machine, according to the emissions test we just did to support the grant application.
They told me, do not start that truck inside. Get it out the door as quick as you can.
Yeah, so it's in bad shape. The 2001's a little bit better, but not a lot better. And that would accelerate, I think the winning grant formula is not only is it qualified equipment, and we've done our own emissions tests so we can scientifically demonstrate exactly what we would be doing, not just using the little spreadsheet that they give us, but we would be accelerating the replacement cycle. So instead of waiting 5 years to replace our 3 oldest dump trucks, if we were grant funded, we would do 2 in year 1 and probably the last one in year 3 of the capital plan. So you're taking those polluting trucks out of service much more quickly, and that is the purpose of the grant. It hasn't been well publicized, and it's a crunch of time. March 18th is the deadline, so I think we have a shot just because we're ready to go, and the other available equipment is all, for, freight handling equipment at ports and other things. I don't know that anybody has anything that's absolutely ready to rock and roll. We'll find out. But I don't want to put you in a spot where you don't get enough funds to replace one truck at town meeting. So I think the way we're crafting the request is for a sum of money, and we're working with town council on this, a sum of money that would be used either to buy one sander plow or to make the town's share of a grant-funded program to replace 2. And we'll be working with Rich, how does that get worded in a warrant article? Probably have to stand on its own, apart from the capital, but we would score it against the capital budget. So right now, I think we're at about 198,000 or so. Would either buy one truck completely, or it would be sufficient funds to leverage 2 for the grant. So that's where we are. I am going to submit for it. It's too rich of a target to let it go by because of process or other issues in town that we should do it.
Put a lot of work into it. I know you have.
Well, we're well documented. Fortunately, the records in town are good, at highway and everywhere else, so we were able to find what we needed within an hour of trying to find it. So for distribution, the other thing, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Blazinski had requested a list of our fleet. So this is our fleet. I think this is enough for everyone. This is what we declare to Maya for property and casualty insurance. So these are all the vehicles that we have. That doesn't mean they're all being used, but you can see where the cost new, if we have a record of what we paid when it was bought new, and then our deductibles on that particular piece of equipment. So this is our June 2018 declaration. So it won't be updated again until June of this year. But just looking at it, I mean, I already know that we've already eliminated a number of pieces of equipment. The very first thing on the list is
Mhm.
Ford Explorer for community development. That was sold for scrap. As it was junk. Over $7,000 worth of repairs would have been required to keep it on the road, and it wasn't worth it. Chief, I don't know if you... That
Number 10 is gone.
number 10 is gone.
That's with scrap as well.
Yep.
Which ambulance did you get rid of? You got rid of the F-250,
Correct.
and that's replaced with a 2018,
What number are you on?
number 9.
9, okay. That's been replaced, you said?
And that's an
Well, it would
ambulance?
be number 8, wouldn't it? The 2007 F-450 ambulance.
Mike's correct. Mike's
That
correct.
says E450, it was actually an F.
No, it's an E. Right, yeah, it's an
No.
F-450.
It's an
You're right.
F-450.
The
The
E4
F-250 is
the E is one
the
with-
brush
one
truck.
The E is, which one? The E450 is the one we just sold
Yeah.
at the auction.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Right, but that should have been an F450,
Yeah,
that's not
so
a...
number 9 is an F-450, not a 250, if it's an ambulance.
Now you've got me confused.
So
All right,
there's,
so number 9 reads F-250. That was an F-450. That was,
Well, we're
Number
still-
9
we're-
is
we're
a
still gonna be
2007
under the value.
Ford F250.
no, this
That's
is
the
the
brush
over.
truck.
Guys,
That's the
guys,
brush
guys, you got two 2007s here. They're both gone.
I guess.
No, one of them's not.
One's the brush truck, Matt. The F-250 is the
Yeah,
brush truck.
that's what I was getting at, is the value, the purchase value was 26,000, so it couldn't have been the
All
ambulance.
right, all right.
so it's, what is it?
So
Number-
that's still in service.
Which-
That's
Correct.
Number 9 is still in service,
Yeah,
and
number
it's,
eight.
and it's an F-250?
Yes.
Okay, I misspoke.
450 or
That's
250?
250.
And it's for brush, doing something?
Yeah, it's a brush truck.
Brush truck.
Yep.
So that's the equipment to put out brush fires. Ellie. It's the E450 that's gone.
That's correct.
This, and that's
That's
the
number 8.
ambulance.
Number 8 is now, is gone. That one in the auction,
Auction.
the bid process.
And that's been replaced by a 2018 F-450 ambulance.
Yep.
That's the brand new unit.
Okay, so that's the
Four-
126.
And that's still a F-450?
But it's not
Yes, it's an
2007.
But it's a
450.
2018?
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's not listed here at all?
No, the new one, we just bought it, so this old declaration, this is as of June.
I'm just writing it in
Mhm.
that space.
So it's to 2018.
Yep.
Yes, F-450, and it's an ambulance. Thank you for doing this.
So John, you get rid of some of this stuff.
Yes.
So where's the other ambulance?
So that's gonna be your Chevrolet, this is number 5. Chevrolet EXP CUT ambulance. That is also a van chassis.
And that's the one that's going?
That's the one that's sick. It's in the hospital. It's having
Call the
surgery.
ambulance. Life
ambulance for the
support.
ambulance.
I'm gonna put sick.
So,
It's having breathing problems.
number 23 was traded in. That's one of my new 550s now.
And is the 550 on here? Probably not.
No, because we got those in November.
Yeah, okay, so you now have a new,
550, F-550 in that spot. In the same, that's number 23 and 26. Those are my two F-550s.
Okay, so they're not 350s.
No,
and they're both 2018s.
19
Nice.
actually.
All right. I'm sorry, okay, 20, that was number 26, John, you said?
Yes.
23
Yes,
and 26.
23 and 26.
So, and both are new F-550s?
Yes, 2019 models.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you still have number 33?
As a pot truck.
It's a parts truck.
That's all, that won't, that's bailed me out in the middle of a snowstorm more than once. It's parked up back, a lot of engine parts are missing, the driver's seat is missing, but I won't get rid of that until both 2001s are gone or the 96, because a lot of parts still fit.
You can still drive it if you sit on a milk crate.
No, there's no alternator, there's no starter. I've taken
It's a
all-
parts truck.
It's a parts truck, yeah. It's bailed me out. 36 is gone, one with the auction.
And you
37
get
and
money?
38 are gone.
You get money at the auction.
We did,
Okay.
not a ton, but
And where does that money go to? Free
in the-
cash?
in the general
General
fund.
fund.
Goes to the general
And
fund.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
36, 37, and 38.
All of them went to auction.
That's correct.
So those would be, I don't know what, I think Gene calls that miscellaneous revenue.
No, but it would be nice to be able to put it back into capital. Keep track of it.
I know the police will have changes because we've had any number of accidents and replacements. I think you understand that we're not treating that as capital this year.
Right,
Those are going through an expense line
yeah,
in the budget.
yeah. We talked about that off and on over the years. Yep. Okay.
Then 61 is my 2008, listed a second time, and I don't know why, but that truck isn't, but traded in.
It's traded,
Yeah,
drawn.
traded for the 550s. Yeah, I don't know why it's on there twice, but
It's a different VIN number, that's why.
Maybe you have a surprise somewhere. Maybe another part.
maybe, yeah,
We
right.
might have gotten rid of it a long time ago, and it's just never caught up on the insurance declaration. Did you take one and give it to building maintenance to use for a while?
No, no, I didn't.
Water sewer?
No. No, I don't know why that.
What
here.
kind of vehicle is it?
It's the F-350.
2008.
Number 61, looks like
Yeah.
it matches number 26. Oh, wait a minute, yeah, it's the same VIN.
283,
P57?
691.
No, it's a different VIN.
P691 is the last four.
Yeah, 8691 is the 23. So that one matches 23 and
Oh, wait a minute,
61.
no, wait a minute.
match.
One FD, yeah, it is.
Yeah. It was traded.
This,
And
but,
this says, John just said traded.
So, yeah, it's on here twice. It's on there once as deleted, but then it's on here as an active record, so we'll get rid of it.
will this save you money in insurance?
Not much. It is always better to get, your premium is based on your value, so the old stuff that doesn't have a lot of value doesn't cost you too much.
Everything else looks okay, John?
Yeah, yep.
Thank you.
So in our overall capital improvement plan, the narrative includes reference to this table. So this table will be reproduced in the report because that's how you configured your fleet, those are the choices you've made. So there has to be a story told about why you picked X number of dump trucks, X number of smaller dumps.
I had a question. I think you, myself, and John, and the police chief were supposed to get together on the radios.
Yeah, so if you're leaving your docket open, we'll get that last piece in.
Okay. That's gonna require a meeting of the minds,
It will,
or no minds.
it will. It's just that everybody's been running ragged
That's
with
it.
snowstorms, and it's been,
And being sick.
and being sick. But mostly,
Bump off.
they work when they're sick, so
Yeah, yeah.
that's been the work.
Yeah.
All righty, that brings us to new business. Any new business? Any old business?
Just one question, so Matt, are we, going to be getting a guide as to,
Prioritizing.
prioritizing?
Yeah, my hope is by the end of the day, well, it's getting complicated, because I have meetings all day at the
Sure.
schools with the teachers union, but probably by the end of the day tomorrow, an allocation for capital, and that'll be the budget. You can match your priorities up against what's there. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, but by way of grants as well, we are sharpening our pencils. We had a meeting with DOER, CMRPC, and all the guys that do all the energy savings projects. And we're putting together the proposal for the roof of this building based on what they're able to do versus what the town would have to do to try to offset it. I think the good news is that there probably isn't there. Whether we win the competitive grant is a different issue, but whether or not our grant qualifies in the first place, whether our request qualifies, seems to be that yes, the answer would be that. What we're thinking of doing is consolidating and making more efficient the air handling units upstairs, because right now there are 4 large units on the roof. And the idea, that was all redundant for the schools. 2 of them don't even work anymore, so the notion is that we would replace 4 with 2 that are much more efficient, more modern, that we would close up all the perforations with necessary weather tightness. And then after that, the treatment would be similar to what was done in the library building, so we'd be spraying foam up, and then using that flame retardant paint over the top of it, which apparently is the cost driver. That's a major cost. But that would all be at the Green Communities grant level, and what we would hope the town would pay for would be a membrane for the roof, to tighten up the roof. Once we're squared away up there, it makes sense to do any other work. But until we resolve the leaks and other problems, it doesn't make any sense putting money in the building. That left us with some money of eligibility left over. And we really focused on the police department and the air handling and the heating system down there as being a huge source of inefficiency. So they pull heat off the main heating plant of the building, which is not really all that great for them, the way it's piped in. I guess way back in the day, there was an exchanger down there that took steam off the boiler and turned it into hot water heat for that space that's down there. And that's all gone, it's all been pulled out, so now it's hot water to hot water, but there was a whole bunch of things that were shut off, and then the new thing was put in, and nobody really could figure out what was what. We're starting to, all this detective work that's required to figure out what is no longer being used, and we've done some cutting and capping with proper valves to prevent the kinds of floods we've had in the last year from recurring. When they get too cold down there, they default to electric heaters that are on the wall, which are profoundly expensive. They run a lot, they take up room in the circuit board, and they really are, or in the main service connection, and it's really a terrible thing from the energy efficiency point of view. So the notion would be, we should work with the units that we have outside to convert to heat pumps. So again, similar to the library project, similar cost. But now you wouldn't need that electricity backup. You just take all that stuff off. Take it off the main service connection and not use it anymore. I think it makes a tremendous amount of sense for the efficiency of the building. So that we will apply for separately, because I think that's a winner no matter how you stack it up. So it won't be done as a package, it'll be one or the other. But both of those items are on the capital request list from Adam, so just bear in mind, we might be able to get grants to leverage that. Sorry, I forgot about those.
No, that's good. So once we have that info and it can be listed, then it'll be there. And so when does the town meeting warrant close?
So we're holding it open basically to the beginning of April. We're gonna close it very fast. It will stay open right to the last possible minute before FinCom has its public hearing. Now, their public hearing, if I recall, right, is April 10th.
10, yeah.
That's FinCom?
So, yeah, I think we want to give them plenty of time to cogitate about what they're presenting at their public hearing. So we really are looking around that first, is that first?
Monday,
Tuesday
April 1st is the first
Is
of
the
April.
first, so
The
the
10th of
board
Wednesday.
will close it on
The
the
4th
second.
is Thursday now.
I think the second, we're looking to basically sew it up and
That's the
say it's all.
selectmen's meeting on the 2nd to close. Okay.
the date that was set in the original motion, I believe, is the end of this month. But I think we're gonna let it languish a little. There's a whole bunch of zoning stuff on there that is gonna take us up right to the neck.
All right.
So then we need to see where we're, how many more times we need to meet.
Well, are we doing, is this still new business or old business?
We were starting into new business. So do you have
Okay.
new business?
No, I have old business.
All right. We're not doing old business today.
And again, I'm projecting ahead so we don't get
Right?
caught behind the 8 ball
Right.
here.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Do we have any new business? Okay, Ellen, old business?
Old business, I just wanted to know if you got any quotes for metal roof on the fire station.
I have not
Yeah.
as of yet.
And I did, I was talking to Buzz Baloo, and I think your roof, you might have said that this is where, because he told me that East Coast Metal Roofing, is that who you used? Well, then, and Charlie has one too, that.
I already gave it to Adam
Oh, okay.
some time ago, but if he's lost it, I'll give it
All right.
again.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, I think it would be sort of a hazard with metal,
You put it
with the
on.
ice coming down on, with people coming in and out, I think.
There is ways you can prevent it, but get the information and,
Yeah, get the quote, that's all.
but there is
That's
ways you
fine.
can prevent it.
Right, that's fine. Maybe I'll look into doing solar too and bring my,
Yeah, why not?
They can put it on a metal roof. I don't want it on a metal roof.
right. Oh, I hear you.
You
I
couldn't
don't
put
mind solar.
Solar up here, could you, on this roof?
It's,
I don't see why not. I think the question is where does it all
Yeah.
connect to? And,
You also get into a loading.
Yes.
You're applying dead load to the roof, so you'd
Yep.
have to have it
yeah.
evaluated, engineered.
And I always said, well, if you want my roof and you want to put solar panels on my roof, you pay me to put solar panels on my roof.
Well, there's also, you have to look into, I didn't, but I've heard where you have to look into how the contract is worded,
Correct.
because,
Yeah, some people have been soaked pretty well. It's a new thing.
solar is great, but if I were to do it, I would put a separate unit
Hmm.
in the land, which I'm going to eventually.
All right,
When
so-
are we gonna meet?
Next meeting? And next meeting, we'll try to get minutes out of the way. We got a bunch of minutes we gotta do.
Is it better for Caesar or anyone else to meet in the afternoon, or what? I forget what he said.
It's a conference call on Monday mornings, that's what he seemed to say last time.
Oh,
Mornings are much better for me.
It's better for you, Matt.
I'm at your, right now, I don't think I have any immovable objects.
Do we wanna shoot for Monday or Tuesday next week?
that's fine with me.
We'll shoot for Tuesday, so that maybe Caesar can make it.
Do we do,
Okay, you wanna
Af-
shoot for 10 again?
Mike, what's good for you?
It doesn't matter, no time during the day is good for me.
Oh,
It doesn't matter. Well, you asked the question, I answered it.
Yeah.
Don't fall off your chair.
no, seriously, I just,
Well, I'm
because
ser- I'm
every
being
time.
serious too. There's no time during the day that's good for me, so
Oh.
I'll make it happen. I joined,
How about
Thank
10
you.
I
o'clock?
joined it.
That's what I
Tuesday
wrote
at
down.
10?
Tuesday at 10?
Yeah.
Can you use this?
Yes, you may
Yeah,
now.
thanks.
Don't click it.
Do this, Mike. Do this.
Cut it out. I was just trying to save. Always
Okay,
think
so
for your
we got
back.
March 21st, which is Tuesday, right?
No, that's
No,
the.
19.
The 19th.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
21st is a Thursday.
So you're doing March 19th, Tuesday, at 10 a.m., right?
Correct.
And what, Shirley, what you had mentioned, how many more of these meetings do we need, or what will we be doing at this one besides minutes?
I would say we should be able to wrap up in the next 2 meetings.
For water sewer, right?
Yeah, is water sewer
Oh,
coming?
yeah,
You need the radios and you need water sewer.
yeah.
And I
So,
think you're done.
Well, we can do that next week, I don't
Yeah.
know.
we,
Right.
yeah, and
So, when we get to 19.
And we need to wrap up pretty soon.
And then
We
go
could
through
start
it.
rating this on the 19th, and then you would have to finish that week though, I think, to give us enough information to. Or within a week, if you could get it, another meeting
Did
by
we,
the
did we do
26th.
anything with the rating process? Did you come up with anything
That's
on
what I
that?
asked.
Well, no, I think you guys gave the guidance. There was a model that you liked, so I was just.
And that
going
was
up
the
with
must do, should do, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, and he said he was gonna work.
All right, that's
Yep.
fine.
So
Okay.
do
I'll have
we,
to find
Copy of
that
that.
chart.
it. Yeah, I gotta write it up.
he's got, yeah. So do we wanna
There's a
do
template. I'm just gonna.
All right.
another one that week? Of the
Yeah, I was
17th?
thinking, surely, you know, brilliant minds think alike. I was thinking maybe,
The 20th.
we wanna try and do a two-header next week, do a Tuesday and a Thursday?
Thursday's not good for me. There are 2 things I have to do, so.
All right. Let's see.
Friday?
Friday the 22nd?
As long as it's not 2:00.
No, we'd go in the
Why don't we
morning,
do it in the morning?
Is that good? Yeah.
but that would, and then just call that the gate. Because somehow we're gonna conclude it by the end of the
Mhm.
meeting on the 22nd, and that would end the commitment for this budget round, if we're not in the commitment for the rest of it.
So we can get the info from,
9 or 10 that morning on the Friday.
9's okay.
Yeah,
The boss.
9?
I can usually
That's
get
fine.
here for 9 on a Friday. Well, maybe here by 8.
All right, so I have the 22nd, Friday, 9 a.m., and Tuesday the 19th at 10 a.m.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, good. So we're good. All right.
So the only
So-
thing about that Friday meeting is the posting would have to be done right away.
No,
For the
Tuesday the
Monday,
19th.
I mean the Tuesday.
By the end of the day on Tuesday the 19th, to get 48 hours.
no, you can do it now.
Oh, we can do it, we can post the meeting, but I'm saying the actual agenda.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, let's do it now. Post
Well,
it.
I could do the agenda for Tuesday, talk about radios and water sewer, and then do,
Ratings.
Ratings.
ratings on Friday.
Friday.
It won't really be a whole lot of, just the agendas for ratings.
So do we know if water sewer can come on Tuesday?
I'll call them.
We'll make them an offer they can't refuse.
That's it.
If you want your project in, you're gonna have to show up.
They'll say garbage.
I like the way you think. Anyway,
Okay.
all right.
Good.
Anyone have anything else to add? Any more old business, Ellie?
No, I did my old business.
All right.
So now you
Motion
have
to
to come
adjourn.
up with it, so.
Motion
to
made to adjourn
adjourn.
by John, second. So I have a second?
Second.
Motion made by John, seconded by Shirley to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are now adjourned.